What's up guys, welcome to another video. Now I received several questions about how I teach my horses to slow down, and it's something that I feel that without knowing what particular type of horse you have or particular problem you may have, it's hard for me to answer directly because it's such a broad topic, but it's been in my mind over the past few weeks, and so I was quite excited to make this video. So we recorded a full video about this topic that we uploaded to the Comfort Zone Horse Training video series, where we break this down in as many parts and as much details as we could, but I still don't think we even covered half of everything we could get into on this topic. But it is one of my favorite topics to talk about because it just involves all of the exercises and drills and things that I like to do the most with my horses. And whew, it's so hot today that it's like dripping in my eye and make my eyes burn. But it's definitely one of my favorite topics to talk about. So the way that I did this in this video, and the way I'm going to break this down into this video, is we're going to look and break this down into how I prepare my horses for a speed transition, and how I cue my horses for the speed transition, and how I react based upon their reaction to my cue when asking them to slow down. So it's a very fun topic to talk about. I'm excited to get into this with you guys. So without any further ado, let's do it. Now, some of this may sound like Chinese to you, or it may sound really complicated, but I promise if you stick to the end of this video, it'll all start to make sense. Now, if you are new to this channel, make sure that you go back into our library of content here on the YouTube channel and look at all of the content we've uploaded over the last couple of years. There are so many videos about how to use your hands, how to use your legs, or how I break down certain drills that we're going to be talking about today, but I broke them in different situations, so we approach them from different angles, and it all really going to help you make sense of what you will learn in this video today. Also, if you are new to the channel, then please subscribe and help us grow our channel. All right, moving on. So let's start with how I prepare my horse to slow down. Okay, so it's very important that the horse approaches the transition in the best possible position in order to just not have any change of or redirection of energy or body energy, and in order for them to do that transition, keeping their forward motion and without any bracing whatsoever. So going back to like reining and show situation, the actual slowdown, well, so executing a really good speed transition from fast circle to slow circle, as I said, is you have to have a horse that is, let's say, running in a certain position. And usually when a horse is running fast circles, it's channeling its energy through its diagonal, looking way far ahead and just really gaining ground. So when you ask that speed transition, you want the horse to just continue that drive through its diagonal while it slows down. You don't want the horse to stop and break gait. Okay, you don't want a horse to slide behind. You don't really want you like a horse that uses its hind end to do the transition. So sometimes a little bit of a slide of the hind feet is actually pretty impressive when a horse can actually do it that way. Too much of it though will be a break of gait, and you want to try to avoid that. So this is why that I teach my speed transitions or my slowdowns very progressively at first. I like to just go in my fast circle until my horse goes as fast as nice as possible, and then I will take, let's say, 5 strides to bring them into their small slow instead of trying to do it over one stride, and then shorten that as time goes. Because it's very important for me that it's very clear in a horse's mind that in order to transition from fast to slow, they need to understand that they need to not have any redirection of body energy or brace. Okay, so doing it that way is gonna be my priority anyways. So this is how I prepare my horses to do the speed transition. With that said, occasionally if they don't, if they anticipate it often or they don't really hold themselves very well in the fast circle, then I like to surprise them with a speed transition. But then just to be like, hey, this can happen, so prepare yourself for that. But if you do that way, then it's very, very important that you don't overreact to however they reacted. You don't want to be punishing them or creating anxiety or justifying any brace that may have occurred. You want to slow things down and just do it again. Okay, so next let's talk about the cue. How to cue your horse is probably one of the most common mistakes that I see out there, and for some more inexperienced riders is something that I feel you should work on before trying to work on your horse. But very important is how I cue my horses. I don't open my legs or too hard or too fast, or I don't throw my body back. I just basically go from riding position A, which is how I wrap my legs around my horses, and how I indicate to them with my body and help them ride that third or fourth gear fast circle, and then I just transition my body to how I ride them when I do a small slow circle. So when I ride this small slow circle, I have my outside leg a little further back, my legs may be pumping, my heels may be a little bit lower down, I'm sitting a little bit deeper in my pockets. And so this is how I lope my slow circle, and I do a lot of those until my horses are really locked in that small slow circle. And when they are, then I go out in my fast, and then my body positions change. My legs clamp up a little bit, they may come back some, I may go a little bit more on my thighs, or some of horses I may sit deeper. However I ride my fast circle, then I do that until they lock in and they feel great, and then I just go back to my riding position of the slow circle. So this switch from position A to B, if I have a horse that tends to kind of be really bracy or may overreact or doesn't really know what I'm about to ask, then I may do it softer. And the horses that are really experienced, that can go really fast, that are really locked in and have a really good transition, but I want to encourage them to do it like really special or to the best of their ability, then I'm going to do it a little bit more sudden and try to expect them to do that transition over 2 or even 1 stride if possible. Okay, so this is you knowing your horse, but the cue should not be you throwing yourself back or throwing your legs out or trying to over push the hip inside to keep them in lead if they intend to fall out of lead, or throw your inside leg too far forward. All of these over movements or over reactions with your body will just lead your horse to kind of do the same and mirror that, and in the end you should just keep it very simple and just go from riding position A to riding position B, which is the position you ride your horse in that small slow, and really work a lot on that small slow before you go and attempt the speed transitions. Make sure that your horse is really locked in both pace. Lastly, let's talk about what you can do or how to react to your horse's reaction when you ask your horse to slow down and they don't do it perfectly. Okay, so there can be so many reasons why they didn't do it well, and there are so many types of horses. You got lazy horses which may just fall apart and lose their forward motion or drive when you ask them. You have the bracy type of horse that may just tense up, either being afraid of being punished or corrected, or just unsure what to do and afraid to make a mistake. There's just so many types of situations that it's really hard for me to say do exactly this. Okay, first is gonna literally be less is more. Okay, so one of the things that I like to do the most is just go from lope, either from a regular lope or even from the fast circle, and just only using your seat cue them to come back to a standstill. So not even go into a small slow, or not break into a trot, or not break into a wall. Let's just break to a standstill. Okay, well, this is as simple as that sound. This is something that whenever I ask someone that has problems with slowing their horses down, that's something that actually it can be pretty funny to see, because they'll sometimes trot and raise their head and get all tight when all they did is relax their seat and ask them to break to a standstill. So it's going to fix a lot of problems without having to interfere or do anything major, and this is why that I think that very often less is more. The other thing that I like to do is not only going from like a fast to a slow with only using the cue, but what I like to do is I like to hold my horse in the bridle. Okay, so put them in the bridle, whether you're holding your hand in the middle or you're lifting your hand straight up or you're holding them two-handed. What I like to be able to do is I like to be able to go from walk to trot, trot to lope, lope slow to fast, or fast to slow, and same thing downwards without them bracing. Okay, so first you want to make sure that your horse can go from the lope to a standstill with only responding to your seat. But you also want to be able to do that while in contact. If the horse is unable to go from one gait to the other without pushing in your hands or without keeping their body energy in the right parts of their body to do that transition, that often is because they weren't approaching it properly, or they're defensive about what's coming when you cue them to do that. So if you want to work on improving anything around what you're doing, teaching your horse to go fast to slow and slow to fast in contact is a good way to feel really which part of the body may be out of whack or may not be in the right place for them to execute the maneuver properly. And so this is kind of babysitting them through the process, but sometimes this is what our job is, right? Is to show them, hey, you need to have your body in exactly this position and use your body this exact way in order to do this properly. Some other horses are better if you just let them figure it out naturally, and others need more guidance, okay? So being able to go from fast to slow and slow to fast in contact without any change of body movement or body position or any brace is going to be very helpful into working on your slowdown for the fast to slow circle. And finally, another thing that I've talked about in some videos, and I want to eventually, I want to expand more on this, because I think this is probably one of the funnest, or for me anyways, one of the funnest drill or exercise that I like to do that's very, very effective, okay? So what I like to be able to do is I like to be able to walk, trot, or lope, and go from the walk, trot, or lope, and without any setup of some sort, I like to just apply some pressure in my inside stirrup, and take them from a walk, trot, or even lope into a spin, and see what happens between the lope and the spin, or the walk and the spin. Okay, so if you walk and you just very subtly cue your horse to get into the spin, the horse should just walk and then, oh, he's cueing me to get into the spin, so should right away just commit to its spin without brace, losing a loss of forward motion or any shift of energy. They should just be walking, ready to pounce. They feel the cue, get into that turn. A lot of the times that doesn't happen that way, especially if you surprise them and they weren't ready for it, okay? So coming back to the first thing that I talked about in this video is sometimes surprising them with a speed transition or they're not expecting it by drawing them into the ground or by taking them into a spin, for example, are good ways to make sure that your horse is more ready often to something that can happen, because you surprise them a little bit more often and then they'll be paying a little bit more attention. I hope that makes sense, because this is something that you probably have to do very often and repeat quite often until you feel what I'm talking about in order to know what you're after. So hopefully you can visualize it in the video here that you're seeing. But what I want to be able to do is go from fast trot or lope and take them into a spin by simply cueing them with my inside stirrup pressure and sitting and assuming the position that I do when I spin my horses. And I want my horse to go right from the gate that they're at into that spin without any brace or any loss of forward motion. So again, at first, if you surprise them, they may brace. So all you have to do is just keep don't interfere too much. Just keep your cue how you asked. Keep your hands steady and show them where you want them. Help them find what it is that you ask them to do. When they find it and commit to that turn, then you release, walk a few steps, lope off again, or just go straight back into it if you want to just kind of work on that reaction. So don't be afraid to walk and then take them into a spin, walk out, take them into a spin, walk out, and then do it from the trot, then do it from the lope. But I promise you that if you can lope your horse around and then from the lope just apply light pressure on your inside stirrup and the light contact of the outside rein or light contact in the mouth, and they just fold into a spin without any brace whatsoever, that they are committed to the turn. And then when you put your outside leg, they lope out of it without any brace or any loss in forward motion or change in body position. Now I promise you that this is going to translate into so much around everything that you do when you ride your horse, including the speed transition. Okay, so anyways, I hope that you found this information valuable. If you found any value in this video, then please give it a thumbs up. If you are not subscribed to the channel, once again, please subscribe, as it helps our channel grow. And until the next one, cheers.